Hi, in this video we'll take a look at loops. Now, as we mentioned in the last in class, there are two types of loops: while loops and for loops. Actually, there are more than that, but we'll look at these two for now. Okay, so starting with the while loop, the idea is that, or the basic format is that you have a while statement, some condition, curly braces, and then a block of code in between there. So, for instance, in this example down here, we're setting the count variable equal to 0. There's your while. Start your curly braces, end your curly braces, and then some block of code in between. And the idea is that this is very important. Somehow in this block of code we have to allow for the eventual possibility that the condition here becomes false. Alright, so in other words, at some point count is less than 10 has to become false. This program, or this while loop, will only execute if the statement in here, if the condition in here is true. So it's very important that you set up your while loop so that those conditions are such that the condition is going to change from true to false. Right? And if you plan on going into the while loop, you need to make sure that the first time through that the condition is true. Alright, so let's take a look. Let's try to predict the output, and then maybe we'll take a look at a couple of examples typed out. Predict the output for this while loop. And the idea here is that we start out with y is equal to 2. Alright, so let me just keep track of this. Let's say right here. Okay, so y is equal to 2 to start. And then we enter the while loop, right? And we ask the question, is 2 less than 50? And if so, well, clearly it is, right? So since it is, we go through, we execute the block. And we print out y, so we say y is, and its current value, so y is 2. And then we take y, and we multiply it itself by 3. So 2 times 3 is 6. And then we rotate back around. So right now y is equal to 6, and we come back into the loop and we say, well, is 6 less than 50? And if so, which it is, we print out again y is 6. Alright, so we're right here. Then we increment y is equal to itself plus 3, so 18. And is 18 less than 50? Yes, it is. And so we print out y is 18. And we multiply by 3 again and check. Now y is equal to 54. And so 54 is not less than 50, right? So we don't print out anything else. We don't go through this loop anymore. Since y is not less than 50, we exit. So that's our exit from the loop at that point, when y is equal to 54. And now, as soon as we're outside the loop, we print out the value of y after the loop is 54. Alright? So that would be the last thing that gets printed out. Alright? It's very helpful when you're analyzing your code to set up something like this, where you show the current value of the variable, you show the test condition, you answer yes or no. In this case it was no, right? And show the output. Oops. Okay. Back to the show here. Alright, so let's try to create the following radio button set. And how many friends do you have? And we have 0 through 7, and then after that we have more than 7. Okay, let me get some code up here. Oh, by the way, the code behind this, or what the HTML would look like behind this, is this. It's just a series of input, type equals radio, name is equal to loop, and then the value is equal to, and then different values incrementing from 0 to 7. Then we have 0 friends, 1 friend, 2, blah, 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 up to 7. And then the last one is a strange one. It doesn't look like the other one, so that'll probably be handled outside the loop. Alright, so we're going to try to create some code that'll look like this. Let's do that as a PHP program. So I'm going to, let's call this friends. Right? vi friends equals PHP. And let's not worry, let me move this over a little bit. Let's not worry so much about the actual the form elements. We're just going to focus on the radio button. So First thing we want to do, actually it would be better to handle this outside the loop, right? We want to print how many friends do you have? And I think there's a line break, right? Let's go back to the thing. Yeah, there's a line break, so we have to formally put that into the HTML. And now we'll start our PHP. Alright, this is outside the PHP, now we're starting the program. And the idea is we want to basically run a loop from 0 to 7. So let's do that. So let's set a variable, let's call it f for friends, right? F, we're going to set that equal to 0. In other words, you need to initialize the variable before you enter the while loop. And now we're going to say while f is less than or equal to 7, right? And we're going to do some stuff. And let's just, first run through, let's just print out the value of f and see what happens. Print f \n. Alright, we're not going to worry about HTML here. And oh, okay, let's just close this up right now. Now, what's going to be the output for this particular program? Well, let's see. We'll write and quit, and we're going to PHP friends.php. And all we see is a bunch of zeros, and you can't really tell from this, but those zeros are continuing on and on and on. And as we mentioned in class, what we've run into here is something called an endless loop, because the way that we created our loop, let me break out of this. Hopefully I can do that. There we go. If you take a look at the program or the code, we set f equal to 0. We say, okay, while f is less than 0, in other words, as long as this is a true statement, we're just going to print out the value of f. But f never changes in value, so we start out as 0 and we end up the loop as 0. So we keep looping around with the value of f equal to 0. So somewhere in this loop, we need to set the conditions where f changes from 0 to 1 to 2 to 3, and the best way to do this is to increment it by 1. So you can do f plus equals 1. You can do f is equal to f plus 1. Or probably, the most straightforward way to do it is just write an f plus plus. Let's see what happens now. Ah, look at that. 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Exactly like we want. 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Alright, so now at least we have the structure of the code down, and we can now put in the form element. And that's pretty easy, right? We want to do, actually we can do this in a bunch of different print statements. We can print, let's see, what do we want to do here? Let me go to the next slide. Input type equals radio, name equals loop, value equals, and then the value, the current value. So let's get all of this stuff into the code on that first print statement. We'll use a single quote because it's easier to embed double quotes inside that. So input type equals radio. You see how I'm embedding some double quotes inside a single quote? That if you were to use double quotes for your print statement for the string, you'd have to escape all of these. It's a big pain in the neck. So this is much easier. Type equals radio, name equals loop, value equals, and I'm going to start my quote right there. All right, close it up, semicolon. All right, so notice that the print statement starts and ends with a single quote, and inside it we print out exactly what appears. Now we're going to print f all by itself on here. Actually, we can just do this. Print f. Now I'm gonna dot. Well, you know what? Tell you what. Let's do this. Let's show how to embed the double quotes inside itself. So we're gonna print out f. Right. The value equals. Let me just get this here. Value equals. We're gonna start the double quote. Put the value, the current value 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and now we have to put a double quote, but we have to escape it, don't we? So let's do that. Escape double quote. Close our HTML tag. and then put the value F, and then BR for a line break, and then a \n just to neaten up the HTML code if somebody views the source. And I think that should look pretty good inside our browser. And I'll leave a little space just so we can get a feel for, oh, one more thing. I need to close up my my parentheses, right? So, or sorry, my double quotes. So that double quote has to be closed up to that one. Alright, so let's see what happens here. PHP friends. I can't type that, can I? .php. Look at that. Alright, so what you need to do, your job now is to go back, take a look at my code, and figure out how did the code end up looking like this. Okay, so how many friends do you have? And it prints out pretty nice. And then, you know, since the last one is a strange one, more than 7, we'll just do that as a separate line. So that'll end up after the loop. So now we're going to print input type equals radio, name equals loop, value equals more than 7, more than 7. BR. Okay. You probably can't see that that I did put a semicolon at the end of that. So actually what I can do here is I can just let this print statement go to more than one line. Okay, so there you go. And so it's a print statement that goes across one line. Remember, as long as the semicolon is what separates statements, so that's perfectly valid. And let's take a look at it. So PHP friends.php, and there you go. And okay, so the code doesn't look that great, but in a browser it'll look good. So let me go to a browser now. And this is, let me just kind of fit this to the appropriate size. And we'll go to mead friends.php. And how many friends do you have? And pretty much that's what we were looking for, right? Let's just make sure. Yeah, see that? Oh, I had the word friends after that, so I'll leave that as an exercise to you to figure out how to get that 0 friends, 1 friend, 2 friends. Okay. So that's just one example. How would we convert this into a? I don't know if this is part of the slideshow, but how would we convert this into, let's say, an option, a set of option buttons instead of radio buttons? Well, easily. It's because it's the same basic structure, right? So let me go back here. Let me actually make a copy of friends, and let's copy friends. Remember, we're using Unix and Linux, so cp is the copy command. Friends.php to, let's call it new friends, or friends2, to be very creative. And I'm going to edit friends2 now. And the same basic loop. F starts out as 0, increments by 1 each time through, while F is less than or equal to 7. Alright, and but now instead of having an input type equals radio, we're going to do options. So, and this is actually real straightforward. All you need is, actually we can probably collapse this into a single print statement, can't we? So print option, and then $F option. Use double quotes so we can interpolate the variable into the quote. And okay, so that should do it. And of course now what we need to do up here is we have to start the select button. So select name equals friends. Here's each option from 0 to 7, and then the last one should be option more than 7 and option. And then end your select. Alright, so start your select, run 0 to 7, print out each option, then more than 7 is your last option, end your select. I think that should be good. I don't see any syntax errors, no missed quotes, so let's try it. And this is friends 2, right? There you go. So that's what it looks like. And then in the browser, we're going to change friends to friends 2. How many friends do you have? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. More than 7. Okay. Very good. Just a couple of things. If you do run an endless loop and you have to break out in a shell, make sure you press Control-C. And if you're in a browser, just hit the stop button. Okay. So in other words, if we were to run, let me run this back to a. Let me edit friends 1. Oops. vi friends 1. Again, if I take this f++ out of here, I'll just comment it out. And if we try to run friends now, what we're going to be doing is we'll have an endless loop, but it'll be in the context of a browser. And you'll get something like this. You'll see something is going terribly wrong here, and things are filling up, so just hit stop. And then you can you won't run out of memory on your local machine, or on the server for that matter. Okay. Next. All right, for loops. Now, for loops are basically a they're another looping structure, and the idea here is that with a for loop, you basically, as soon as you enter the loop, you've already determined the number of times you're going to go through the loop. It's all predetermined. Whereas a while loop, depending on how the conditions change, you may or may not exit at certain times. With a for loop, at least, you're unless you break out of it by some other means, you're pretty much guaranteed that the loop will go through X number of times, a predetermined number of times. All right. So again, the general structure is the for statement, round parentheses, an initialization expression, a continue condition, and an increment expression. Then some block of code. Best way to do this is to look at examples. The first one here does starts out I is equal to 1, so you initialize I to 1. The loop keeps going while I is less than or equal to 100, so it's sort of like a while loop, and every time through the loop I increments by 1. Alright, so first time through the loop I is equal to 1, then it's equal to 2, then 3, then 4, all the way up to 100. When I is equal to 100, it still goes through the loop. When it's equal to 101, it checks the condition, says, up, 101 is bigger than 100, and it jumps out. Alright? The second one, same basic idea, except I is starting at 100. It continues until y is, or I is equal to 1, less than 1. When I takes on the value of 0, you're done, and I is decreased by 1 each time through the loop. And then the last one on this page, at least, I starts out at 0. Again, it continues while it's less than or equal to 100, and it increments itself by 5. Right, so, oh, okay, well, yeah, one more, I guess. This one, I starts out as 20. Each time through it, it decreases by a value of 2, so it goes 20, 18, 16, 14, 12, 10, blah, 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 blah. 0, it still continues when it's 0, because that condition is still true, but when I gets the value of -2, it jumps out. So it doesn't execute the loop when it's equal to -2. Alright, so the problem here is try to change the radio problem from the previous slide into a for loop. Alright, well, that should be pretty easy. This is friends, right? What I'm going to do here is in this friends program, I'm going to write it as friends3. Alright, and now what we're going to do here, the nice thing about the for loop is that you don't have to worry about a separate initialization step like we have here before the while loop. That's actually embedded right within the for loop. So for f is equal to 0, that's what we're going to start with. Alright, semicolon. You have to separate each of these things with a semicolon. F is going to continue while it's less than or equal to 7. Okay, so as long as f is less than or equal to 7, we're going to keep going. And then we're going to increment f by 1 each time through the loop. Okay. We're not going to need to increment f each time through because the for loop does it for us. So get rid of that line. That's it. We've just changed it. Alright, so f starts out as 0, increments 1 each time through the loop, and stops when f is no longer less than or equal to 7. Just to prove, this is friends3, right? Oops, what happened here? What did I do wrong? Okay, I pressed Control C. friends3, what's going on? Oh, did I save the wrong program? Hold on a second, let me see this. Oh yeah, I saved that as friends. Okay, let's... I guess I don't know how to use this editor. Yep, I saved it as friends, unfortunately. So friends is now the for loop. So let's run friends. There you go. Okay, the loop runs from 0 to 7 and exits at that point.